Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and on Designing Your Life Today, I want to talk about giving yourself a redo and recommitment day. So, what is that all about? First of all, throughout the entire month of March, we've been talking about spring cleaning in different areas of your life as well as your physical environment. So if you didn't get any of these things done, or if you only got a few of them done, it is important that you take a moment, take a breath, and recommit and give yourself a redo day. And say, you know what? I'm going to take this day and I'm going to clean up some of these things and put these things in order. Now, you may not get it all done in a day, but giving yourself that day will help you to send a message, a clear message to your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, that you are serious about achieving your goals. So before we go any further with that, first of all, I'm going to share 3 things, maybe 4 things that can happen when you kind of lighten up on yourself a little bit, but at the same time, make that recommitment and giving yourself a redo day, or redo and recommitment day. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know that April is a month that you want to go all out. It's all out April. So when we talk about getting in the mix in 2026, and yes, we are still going on with that theme. So when we're talking about doing that, it is so important that you take the time to be sure that you have some things in place so that you can go all out, so that you can give it your best. This is not about overworking yourself. This is not about overdoing anything, but this is about bringing the best that you have to the table. And once you brought the best you have to the table, then you can see where perhaps you want to learn some new things to improve on your best. Okay, the best can keep getting better. So I wanted to mention that. The other thing is, throughout the month of April, periodically, I'm going to introduce some different programs that you can use to build an income for your business. I started this in March, talking about 3 ways to earn money at home. I talked about the online course program that you could work or start. And so I talked about all of these things, and I'm going to share some more programs that you can use so that you can establish a system. And guess what? If you say, wow, when you're done giving me all of this, I'm not going to know what to do with this. Don't worry. I am going to give you a system and kind of map it out step by step so you can follow it. You'll be able to download it and follow it. So that's what's coming in the month of April. So be sure to keep listening and taking notes and taking action. So let's get back to the redo and recommit day. Okay. The object of the game here is for you to be sure that you've created a certain level of clarity and that you have recommitted you take the time to recommit to the goals that you set. Now, recommitment, when you look at these goals, this is all about you deciding, are these the goals I really want to achieve? Is this the direction I want to continue to go in? Do I desire to do something different? What do I feel would most excite me, but also would be most beneficial to the people that I'm serving as I use my gifts and talents to serve? So think about these kinds of things. There's nothing that says that you can't change your mind, go in a different direction, change your goals, or just kind of improve on the goals a little bit. Now, here's my caveat. Some people will say, well, maybe you're trying to do too much, or maybe the goal's too big. You get to decide that. However, if you are, let's say, you set a goal to earn $1 million in a year, it doesn't mean you can't do that. But if you've never earned $10,000 in a month, then it might be a little difficult, only because you've not stretched your mind to that point. Now, we'll talk about that more in another podcast, and I have some other podcast episodes. You can check it out on designingyourlifetoday.com, where I've shared that kind of information. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about giving yourself a redo and a recommit day. So when we talk about the redo, as I said, this is the month, and this is the end of March, that everybody thinks about spring cleaning. Okay, unless you're dealing with sports, then you're thinking about March Madness, which either way, if you're thinking about March Madness, then think in terms of making March Madness you're creating a frenzy with your spring cleaning when it comes to your physical, mental, and emotional self, such that your spirit can get through and break through, and you can become stronger. So I want to share with you why it's so important for you to not overlook your own kind of spring cleaning as it relates to your life. First of all, like I said, I'm going to share 3 points, and I might share a fourth. But the first one, I think, is one of the most important. A lot of times people share the most important one at the end. All of these are important, but I think let's start with, the way we're supposed to accomplish things. All right. Or the foundation, how we're supposed to lay our foundation so that we can elevate from one level to the next. So the first one is the reason you want to build that kind of, or get that kind of clarity and take the time to do that kind of clearing and spring cleaning, if you will, is because this is how you send a message that you are willing to elevate your identity. If you set goals for this year to achieve this year that you've never achieved before, you have got to look at your identity and see what's going on with that. And it's so easy. I'm not a person who really believes in looking at the past, but as of late, I've had to look at some things in the past to see if there were some things that I needed to clean up. And I think it's important that we look at the past for a moment when we're examining our lives. And I've shared this quote before. It's by Socrates, where he says the unexamined life is not worth living. Well, okay, I know that's a bit much, but the truth of the matter is, if you're not examining your life, if you don't take the time to look at you and what's going on around you that's affecting you and also affecting others, if you're not doing that, then you're just existing. And that's not necessarily a feel-good way to be. You want to bring your best. That's why as we go into April, it's all out April. You're going to give your best. So you want to kind of build an identity of completion. In other words, an identity that says, you know what? I start things and I complete it. I am a finisher. And when you start to put things in order, okay, and do the spring cleaning, then you'll start to see things will become a lot clearer. You'll feel a lot stronger. You'll feel more confident. And you guys know I mentioned confidence quite a bit on this podcast, but it's a very necessary thing. And so it actually allows you to position yourself to not be afraid to come up with new goals, new ideas, new thoughts, and really commit to following through on those. So you want to build that identity that says, I complete things. Okay. Now, in order for you to get to that point, I think that you have to first understand what your identity is. You have to adopt an identity that works for you, that's going to help you achieve the goals that you set, that's going to help you build your magnificent life. And I've been talking about my course, identity-based goal setting. And actually, it's called identity-powered goal setting. And it includes a masterclass, and the masterclass, it includes two, and they're both the same, but it's just different presentations to different groups. So they're not completely the same. I share some different thoughts and ideologies in each one, but they're both pattern the same. So with that being said, that's the first thing. You want to build that identity loop of completion, that you complete things, that you are in fact a finisher. So when you can build that kind of identity, it becomes easier for you. So next March, when it's time for spring cleaning, it won't be that much for you to organize, for that much for you to clean, that much for you to discard, maybe a little bit. Okay. And you're going to elevate from there. So that's the important thing. The second thing is that the reason why you want to take this time to, if you didn't complete a lot of the things that you wanted to complete, this is why you give yourself a redo. I think giving yourself a kind of a redo day, and you get to set the day that you want to do this. I would suggest that you do it early in April, as soon as possible, but you get to set that date, just schedule it. And the reason why you want to do that, it takes the pressure off of you. It helps you to feel better. And that's what works, for me. And a lot of the people that I've coached and some of the newer people that I've talked to about coaching them, I can kind of see, I would see their pressure, how they were putting so much pressure on themselves. So we would talk about, lightening up and giving yourself, a redo day. So when you do set a redo day, then all of a sudden it takes the pressure off. Now, once you get into it, you actually start redoing in a sense. In this case, it's clearing up and completing. That's what it's about. But once you start doing that, then all of a sudden you're going to find your momentum. So this is a great way for you to build momentum. Now, you keep your momentum by making sure that you stay on top of things, by making sure that you, whatever it is you have in order, that you try and maintain that order without stressing yourself out to the max. We're not talking about that you have to get on your hands and knees with a toothbrush and scrub, the crevices of your tile or whatever. So, we're not talking about that, but what I'm talking about is you're going to maintain a level of, let's say, order, a level of cleanliness. And when it comes to your mental clearing, you're going to kind of put yourself in check and say, okay, this is the part that I didn't address. And so you're going to address what's necessary. Same thing with your emotions. When it comes to your physical self, you're going to be honest about what you're doing and what you're not doing. And in order to create that path for you to start doing it, you're going to set some specific dates and make some commitments. This is where recommitment can really come in handy. So you're redoing and you're recommitting. And as a result, things are really going to you're going to feel more confident. Just the mere fact that you set a date to redo some of the things that you didn't complete, it gives you a feeling that you're completing something. Wow, I actually took the time to plan something. Wow, I actually took the time to set a date. And so now you're excited about what's coming next. You're not thinking about what you didn't do yesterday or what you didn't get done for the entire month. The other thing that happens is once you start to do this and you're building your momentum, I shared this story before, and this was years ago when I left the military. And I told you I had a junk room and I had a 2-bedroom apartment. I only needed a 1-bedroom. And in that 2-bedroom apartment, it was a junk room, and I turned it into a junk room. I would just throw things in there. and just kind of close the door. We throw things in there and I would close the door. So the thing about that is eventually a friend of mine, she was very organized and it probably bugged her so much. And she came in and she cleaned it up and it felt good. And instead of me feeling out of order, a little anxious, a little nervous and this kind of thing, because that's what happens when you have a lot of clutter. For people who say, oh, I work better because I know where everything is, you can tell they're a little bit frantic and they don't get as much done as they think they're getting done. And so once she did that, since then, I thought, okay, this is so much better. And I should have actually known that already coming from the military because everything had to be in order when I was in the military. But there were reasons why things kind of got off track. So with that being said, let's get back on track as I continue to talk about you setting a redo and a recommitment day. So you want to recommit to your goals. You want to set a day to kind of finish some of the things that you didn't finish. The other thing is when you start to do this, as I said, it builds that momentum. When you build your momentum, then it kind of creates an automatic behavior in you. Because all of a sudden now, when things are a little bit off track, and we're talking not just cleaning your physical environment, we're talking mental, emotional, we're talking all of the above. So when things get off track, you know it, you know how you feel, and you automatically want to take some steps to put things back in its place, to get back on track, to find out what is stopping you from moving forward when it comes to achieving your goals. And so I found out that there was a name for this. And because I thought a lot of times I think, oh, wow, this is such a great revelation. But then I do my research and I find out their names. And this is called identity-based habits. It's the identity-based habits theory. So you guys can look that up and see that this is not just something I'm saying because, well, it sounds good. So with that being said, you really want to get serious about setting that day. And when you recommit to your goals, as I said, by taking a look, deciding, okay, these are the specific goals I'm going to achieve. I'm very serious about these goals. You want to reinforce that to yourself. And I know it might be a challenge because I'm doing something new, but I am going to do what it takes to get the message to my brain. And a part of that begins with the identity, seeing yourself how you desire to be, not wishing and hoping and saying, when I get there. Okay. It is about seeing yourself already there. And then you're going to rise to the occasion. One other thing I want to say as we start to wrap up. So those are the three things. And I actually gave you four. And so let me repeat those before I kind of give you the last thing and wrap up. One, you build an identity of completion. So in your mind, now you're on this completion loop. Like, okay, I'm going to finish it. You don't feel good if it's not finished. All right. So number two was building momentum. As you complete, you will build momentum. And number three is you reinforce that behavior automatically. So you desire to actually complete things. And also the fourth one that I kind of threw in was that when you build the identity of completion, then all of a sudden now you put yourself on a completion loop, meaning that you are reinforcing the automatic behavior and you really desire to complete things. You start to feel good. Now, here's the thing I want to share with you as we wrap up. The thing about, we have to look at why it didn't get done, not to beat yourself up, but so you can have a better understanding of the steps that you're going to take and the choices you're going to make. Now, by the way, a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing with you, these are not everything, but a lot of these things that I'm sharing, these are things that I've learned over time. And in my mind, I think it's kind of cool when you hear a live person who's been there, done that, sharing this information, not someone who just read it out of a book. So I went through this, and these are some of the things that I've learned. And one of the things I learned, especially when my friend cleaned that room for me, and I remember how I felt, it revealed to me what the clutter was about. And while we're not going to get into that on this particular podcast, who knows, maybe in the future, when we kind of do a behind the scenes thing and talk a little bit more about things that will help you guys really come out of your shell and get to where it is you want to be. But for now, I want you to understand that when you have that kind of clutter and you're making the excuse that I know where everything is, no, here's the thing. Pay attention to what your clutter is kind of telling you. Clutter is telling us something. And the thing that my clutter told me during that time is that I was not in control of my life. So when you just go in there, and I would go in there and I'd throw things in that room, then close the door, I knew I wasn't in control of my life. Now, this was just before I was brand new in real estate. I mean, like really brand new. We're talking not even in real estate for 3 months. So the clutter was telling me something, that I didn't feel like I was in control of my life, which meant, okay, so you're in real estate. You started something new, but really you don't think you know what you're doing. You don't feel like you know what you're doing. You don't feel confident enough. But somewhere deep down inside, number one, you desire to make this work. Number two, you believe that you can make this work. But on some level, there is a lack of confidence because you aren't trained properly in this area. And here it is. You have your entire future rooted in this. In other words, this is your livelihood. This is supposed to be your livelihood. This is where you're supposed to generate an income to pay your bills and to take care of yourself and to take care of your family. And so that kind of thing. So with that being said, of course, throw it in, close the door, pretend it doesn't exist. I don't want to deal with it. So sometimes your clutter is telling you there's some things that you don't want to deal with. And you have to make that decision. And you have to say, you know what, I am going to take control. And so I want you to understand this. People have a tendency to say if someone doesn't have everything perfectly in order, if it's not pristine clean, they might say that that person is lazy, or they might call themselves lazy. Oh, I'm just so lazy. This is why I'm not getting it done. But I want to tell you, stay away from that. That is not the case. There is something else going on. See, even if you are what you would call if you call yourself lazy, it is the results of symptoms, certain symptoms. So no one's born lazy, I don't think. Okay. That's not how you're built. So if that is happening, that means there's something that you need to pay attention to. So my point is, people consider they call themselves lazy because they think they have a lack of discipline. And the thing about this is not always about a lack of discipline. This is about the fact that you have no solid system. You don't have things in order. So this is not, this is about you establishing systems that work for you, daily systems, weekly systems, and even a monthly system. It's like having a monthly calendar. What is coming up next month? Like I just finished telling you guys, all right, we're going to do all out April. And I shared a couple of things that I'm going to be talking about on this podcast in the month of April. So I had to plan that in advance. Okay. So there's a system. In order to keep the podcast going, to keep everything going, there's a system. And I think if you're a female listening to this, and guys, I can't speak for you because I am a female, and I'm not speaking for anyone, but I'm kind of putting this out there. A lot of times as women, because when we're growing up, when we're little girls, we're taught, you have to cook, you have to clean, you have to do all of these things. And I've shared this on a podcast before, but Proverbs 31, you have to be a Proverbs 31 woman. Well, a Proverbs 31 woman didn't do all of that on her own. Okay. She was a manager, and I've said it before. Okay. So she had a maid, she had a cook. So she was making sure that everything got done. The point that I'm making is that's a system. Okay. And she was in business. It says she took her blankets, and I'm speaking from memory. It's from the King James Version, to market. And so she'd sell them. And so I didn't say she didn't work. Okay. So the point that I'm making is that you have to have a system. And all of the people that are on your team, they are part of your system. And so when you create a system like that, then things start to flow. You don't have to do everything yourself. Okay. That can be very exhausting. So when you give yourself a redo day, you might want to even include a little planning in that day. And by the way, I'm saying redo and recommit. And you don't have to just take one day. All right. You can say, okay, I got a lot I have to get done. Like I said, take the pressure off of yourself and give yourself the benefit of the doubt, and reinforce the idea that you are built by design to win, and you're capable and you're going to make this happen. But so you can set a redo day. You can do it one day a week, even in the month of April, and still go all out, because as you start to move, things are going to start to happen for you. So listen, you guys, that is all I have for you. And with that being said, I want you guys to set your redo date and recommit day and recommit to those goals. Look around, make a list of some of the things that you still want to clean up and clear up, and get to it. And before you know it, you'll be doing life with power, and you will know that you are in fact built by design to win. Why? Because you're going to start getting a lot of results. So I will talk with you guys in April.